currently 1-0. Meanwhile, Tyler, there was 2 decks I was looking for him to evaluate banning. One was Control Parades, the other was Control Mage. And that's largely because Tyler chose to play all-out aggro. It just hasn't been the same, and even Shaman gets preyed on by so many of the current decks out there in the metagame for tournaments. I think that's going to be the weak point in his lineup. But let's go ahead into game number 1, Big Spell Mage up against Even Paladin.
And I think one of the reasons why Tyler didn't ban the Control Mage, because this Control Mage is heavy. It is double Mountain Giant, double Bright-Eyed Scout, and basically every top end you could possibly imagine that Control Mage could run with Jan'alai, Syndragosa, the Lich King, and also a Mojo Master Zihi.
And a Skull King, guys.
Which seems so weird. Because usually you would want to be the one with all the mana so you can remove stuff.
Right.
I think he wants to just stick 2 Mountain Giants on the board on turns 4 and 5, and then slam Mojo Master Zihi on 6 and kill his opponent, which is not what this deck is supposed to do, Dan.
Well, the weird thing about Mojo Master Z is you play it on curve, it doesn't really do much. It just takes away 1 mana crystal.
Which makes it make less sense. I don't know.
Mojo Master Zihi in Even Paladin makes a lot of sense. Because
it does.
It loses so much steam in the late stage of the game that even Paladin often struggles to utilize their mana.
Yes.
Just because they run out of cards. They have such a powerful early game and a very strong surges in the mid game, but they do gas out.
Or against even Warlock, who relies on having big minions stick to the board. And on that last wave of big minions, when you're trying to dodge removal or shut off combo decks from closing out the game, then you play it. But there's a... Tyler's playing Mojo Masters, as you mentioned, in this Even Paladin, and he'll be happy to play it in the late stages of the game. I just don't see a situation where KT would even want to use it.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe it's a genius move, and I'm just bashing it for no reason. I'm going to look like an idiot. But, Dan, there's one thing that I don't mind doing, as many people know, and that's looking like an idiot. Oh, I look like one right now.
With pride.
Yes, I do.
Yeah.
Call me an idiot, I'll shake your hand and thank you.
Well, that Bright Scout ended up working out okay. You know, there are a lot of cheap minions or cheap cards in the deck. There's Arcane Artificer, which is a 1-mana 1/2 elemental that gains armor whenever you cast a spell. There's Daring Fire Eater, which is a new card from Roscon's Rumble to improve the damage of your hero power. And there's a Prince Keliseth. So, you know, when you have the Mountain Giant and, you know, a bunch of tech cards with Bright-Eyed Scout, the Prince Keliseth is supposed to help you shore up that early game curve. And it gives Big Spell Mage something that they lacked, which is actual plays before turn 5.
Yeah.
You know, before, if you just play the normal stuff, which is Raven Familiar and a bunch of draws, what you end up doing is passing the first few turns unless you have Stonehill Defender.
Yeah.
And that usually sets up this scenario where decks that like to pressure will often extend just far enough that you have to like Dragon's Fury, but obviously not far enough to make them get high value.
Yeah.
And you're stuck in a bad spot. So Big Spell Mage, whenever your opponent knows what you're doing, tend to feels very, you know, 50-50 on that. Like, do I have the removal? And if I do, you know, how does their hand look when they're playing around my removal?
Yeah.
But I like this version because, for one, it's really fun to play Keliseth on too. And then for another reason is because you actually have real substance in some of the deck.
Yeah, it gives you sometimes alternate win conditions in matchups that you'd otherwise struggle with.
Yeah, that being said, I think because he's a little less on the consistency of removal because he doesn't have Raven Familiar, he has Prince Keliseth instead, it might be tricky because Tyler does have some of his most powerful assets in his hand with Valinir, and then you combine it with like Wind Fury Harpy and the Glass Knight. So if he can fade that Polymorph, which already got baited out with that Spikered Steed, I mean, things like that might really bite KT later on.
Yeah.
Like, that Spikered Steed minion, reasonably threatening, but it was still only a 3/7. Why do we need to polymorph that?
Yeah, well, we polymorphed the Blessing of King's minion. Yeah,
right.
But still, same point in the fact that Valinir is just pretty much recurring, almost infinite damage, as long as your minion doesn't get frozen over and over again, which is a possibility.
You know, so this secret choice, Tyler's really thinking about Eye for 9, the possibilities of whether or not he can find use for it. This is a more minion-heavy deck, and going into turn 8, when you hit things like Lich King, it is a really big threat, but it is also worth evaluating, like, well, you know, can I force my opponent to be in a situation where if they deal damage to themselves, I can get over the hump? Because Big Spell Mage can sometimes just barely survive behind AoE and a taunt minion, and then you struggle to get that last bit of damage in.
Ooh, hits Flame Strike. One copy of Flame Strike in the deck, too. That's something to note for later on. Able to clear the board, and this is the turn that's going into the Frosted Jaina turn. You want to be able to put more damage in, make the turns a little bit more awkward.
I like it.
I
like it a lot too, Jay.
There's also the nod towards maybe Windfury Harpy, but Zihi just seems so good here. This is why it's in the deck, to shut off power plays from decks that want to have a lot of mana to be able to use those cards.
Yeah, and KT doesn't have the greatest response here. Things like Skulking Dice actually just do nothing against an even deck. And now KT picks up his Kel'Thuzad, so he's got like the early game cards he wanted, but nothing of too much substance. And Zihi also is a 5/5, so this is gonna hurt. Valenier.
Yeah, Valinir's good. Not the greatest tools picked up, though. Quality can be used to help push damage later on in the game, block the water elementals from having significant impact with Frosted Jaina.
Wild Pyromancer quality, I think, is really important for Tyler to have if that gets to that point, but we'll see if he needs it. And also, where does this Valenier buff land? Does it land on the Windfury Harpy?
Welcome to the show.
Okay, so now Tyler actually has a really cute way to get that Valenier instantly by Wild Pyromancer equality and swing with the weapon. But for now, doesn't really seem to have too much good stuff going on. His best minion actually is the Wild Pyromancer.
I don't mind, though, with the equality, because it also gives you additional value from Valenier, even if the second Polymorph was in the hand for KT.
That's true. That's true. So you get this extra swings with Valenier.
Yeah, so he's got 8 damage lined up there, so he needs to piece together 7 more after that, not accounting for potential Arcane Artificer or Ziliax.
Yeah, it makes sense too, because the worst part's already over, which is the Gluttonous Ooze on the weapon.
Yeah, and he's following up with Lich King. So I guess he wouldn't really be forcing out removal the turn before Lich King. Maybe just playing Wild Pyromancer, and then if Polymorph's there, then you drop a Lich King on a seemingly innocuous board, and then you're okay. But I kind of just like cashing in. That quality doesn't have the best uses, and pushing 4 immediate damage is actually really relevant, I think.
Yeah. Well, it's 8 damage, you know.
Yeah, well, 4 immediate, 8 over 2 turns.
And yeah, like you were setting up the Frosted Jaina, the Water Elementals means Valenier will never swing again. And yeah, it's a really sad proposition. But KT has good life gain opportunities. He picks up a second Ziliax copy with the Zola. Oh my goodness gracious. If this I mean, do you just play whatever minion this lands on?
I don't know if you'd play Tyrion. I think you're going to play Lich King regardless.
Okay. What if it lands on Windfury Harpy, though?
Tyrion. That's the most awkward.
Right.
But I think you still play Lich King regardless, because the Lich... the 10-8 with Divine Shield's really good, though.
Yeah, so...
Oh, boy.
Is there a way we can map this out where it ends up being really good if they just play Frosted Jaina? Probably. Oh, actually, Tyrion would deal 10, 11, and they go up to 22, so quality Avenging Wrath wouldn't be lethal. No.
Well, you could maybe... I don't know.
Because the thing is, Tyrion... Like, part of one of the tricks they can do with Tyrion was to kill him and then have the ability to swing with the weapon. But because he has that Divine Shield...
Oh. Ugh. Pain!
That is brutal. That is the second polymorph to shut down any Divine Shield, Death Rattle impact that Tyrion has.
Yep.
Brutal.
Oh, by the way, that Arcane Artificer's a 2/3. That Bright Eyed Scout, a 4/5.
I mean, this is supposed to be a tough matchup for Tyler from the get-go, but, you know, when KT has all those anti-aggro options, it gets increasingly more difficult.
Yeah, he does have a good chance to stick Lich King here. There's not a contest showing on the board if he trades the 1/1.
He knows
You
the
see
second
both
Ziliax
polymorphs.
is the hand, though.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's true. So Lich King would get 1 card, and then is there anything that he could steal that'd be good? Maybe Syndra Gosa? If he gets Death Grip.
Yeah, I mean, there's cards that he knows are in the deck that are very good quality, like Mountain Giant or Jan'alai. Just like taking away big threats, but also putting a big threat himself.
Yeah, Jan'alai wouldn't be that great. Because it doesn't...
It strips away from the mage.
Yeah.
The good card. Yeah.
But he needs to be proactive, I think. He can't just be reactive for the rest of the game.
Dude.
If only it counted the damage that your Silverhand recruits have done.
That was exactly what I was thinking. It's like, you know, if you're Warlock and you get Jan'alai, it's like, oh, I left that 4 times. I guess I could just play Jan'alai.
Play it on Kurt. Hello?
Team?
Maybe he's even going to play... I was thinking Sinky Return because he knows he's checking off the board. But
I think he needs Army of the Dead to pull out a lot of stuff. Death and Decay is all right.
Yeah, but again, it's kind of a card that relies on you having a board or a card that relies on you almost being dead and requiring it to be good.
KT's best friend is the next card he's going to draw. I don't know how. It's like the second polymorph, the Flame Strike off the top to gain life and just to keep that Artificer on the board. And that Artificer will stack, you know. It not only is every single armor that it gains from the spells, but also it's an elemental. So Frosted Jaina comes down, it's a 2/3 that can gain 2 life and fight for the board. This is a tough spot for Tyler, and I wouldn't blame him if he's tempted to even use Death and Decay here. And then play like Wind Fury Harpy, for example, or Sunkeeper Terran.
I think at this point, he basically has to rely on like Wind Fury Harpy sticking, him drawing Blessing Kings off the top, and just being able to attack a few turns in a row, which is wishful thinking, but at this point in the game, he doesn't really have many other options.
Yeah.
And just got to hope for the best.
Yeah. I sense the same thing. And now KT has 24 life, going up to basically full life, has a second anomaly. I think it could just be the draw differential too. Like, you know, even Paladin, we mentioned that they gas out. And Tyler is just drawing, like, he's 2 cards behind a control deck. You know, the control deck ended up drawing a lot more than he did. And Tyler picks up Hydrologist, which is an okay card. Hidden Wisdom, Redemption, Eye for an Eye.
Hidden Wisdom, probably tough to use because, 1, KT's just going to be using his hero power as much as possible. He's just trying to summon more elementals. 2, with how expensive his deck is, it's going to be hard. Would be hard for him to try to play 3 cards in a turn, but he's going to pick it just because
it's his best shot.
It's just nothing else really is good.
I think Tyler has the right idea. Like, if he doesn't play Hidden Wisdom, everything else kind of feels like it's dragging the game along and have wishful thinking. But this is wishful thinking with the highest upside.
Yeah.
Also, he's seen that KT's just been playing removal from the right or the left side of his hand, or the right side of his hand, excuse me.
Yeah.
So it's less likely that KT still has more AoE. And you mentioned that 1 copy of Flame Strike. Well, guess what else he would like right now? Perhaps a second copy.
Yeah.
That's not there.
He's got a lot of big bombs in the deck, but unfortunately, Lich King is risky because he doesn't know what this secret is. He knows that it's not Noble Sacrifice or Auto Defense Mages, but it could be Repentance.
It's true. If it's Repentance, you can just play Arcane Artificer first and then Ziliax.
But it is a...
I think the #1 thing that KT... Oh, I was about to say this too. Like, what's his Jan'alai counter at? And Ragnaros is an elemental lord. That means wherever he drops his hot fire, he gains 8 life for Frosted Jaina. And also, attacking into Ragnaros will generate the same thing. Now, Tyler does have a response with the Pyromancer Inequality, but that is a painful exchange, especially because that Corpse Taker follow-up is nowhere near as good now that Wind Fury Harpy's been drawn and played.
No, and if he equalities and just trades in, all of his minions are at 1 health, so KT has a ping option every single turn for that Water Elemental to be summoned. So it just, everything's working against Tyler right now, honestly. Because Lich King's gone and he doesn't really have a way to kind of cheese his way out of the game with, like, Death Grip into Syndragosa, and then you pick up something nuts like Rin.
Right, and I mean, that even then it's not necessarily the best because Frosted Chain is more than happy to hero power your 0/1 elemental. Tyler can put 15 damage and clear the board, and I think that's his best option here because Ragnaros existing means that he'll never get there.
Reporting for duty.
He's never getting there.
Wow. Wow. He just left it up.
I mean, okay, so from his perspective, KT doesn't have AoE, very clearly. Does not have a way to sweep the board away, but he knows about the Ziliax. Yeah, I don't know. I guess maybe he's hoping that the Divine Shield, or that Ragnaros hits the Divine Shield and doesn't heal for 8, and then he finds Consecration to push through. Okay. It doesn't gain any life. Okay. Is Tyler a genius and found a way out of this game?
So 9 plus 4, he's got 13.
No, let's say Avenger Wrath goes 7 to the face and 1 to the Ziliax. No, well,
If it goes 7 to the face and 1 to Ziliax,
he has
then
lethal. If Wild Pyromancer, he plays a quality.
then Wild
Pyromancer and 8 times to the face with Avenging Wrath.
And then the Wild Pyromancer triggers after.
Yes, to clear the Ziliax. It'd be no, actually, you couldn't because then he clears his own minions.
Oh yeah, because it'd be quality. Yeah.
There's no way around it.
Wishful thinking, Dan. I like where your head's at, though. I like where your head's at.
Yeah, but here's another thing that's good. If you equality Avenging Wrath and you push all the damage to face, does he have a lethal at the top of the deck? Because the thing is,
True Silver Champion.
The mage has to generate the Wild Elemental and then attack. So I think his best chance is right here, right now. This Avenging Wrath.
Wait, did Ziliax live? Ziliax live!
Oh boy. Oh, that is such a big deal.
That's massive.
That is really unfortunate. That was a 6-point swing difference. Gained 3 life and missed 3 damage.
Yeah. He would have been at 4 health, which would have meant if there was no taunt or life gain, True Silver Champion off the top would have been lethal.
Well, I mean, this Lich King's in the way, too.
If he didn't have a taunt or life gain.
And getting Greymane seals the deal there.
Yeah. So it wouldn't have been in the cards for Tyler anyway, despite that.
Effort. I had a hard time seeing like how he gets there unless he clears off Ragnaros.
Yeah.
The ability to recognize that interaction between Divine Shield and Ragnaros.
KT has Odd Rogue in his lineup versus an Odd Rogue from Tyler as well. So it matches up pretty similarly. The deck with the biggest question mark over it is this Even Shaman for multiple reasons. Reason 1, Even Shaman, while it's a decent deck, that's about all it is. It doesn't have too many polarized matchups. It doesn't get beat up heavily by a lot of stuff, but it doesn't beat up heavily on other stuff. And the second reason is because Tyler didn't put Hagatha in his Even Shaman list, which I think is a big oversight because Hagatha is one of the only emergency comeback tools that Even Shaman has in its arsenal. And also, even in times where you need to be proactive, it can solidify game positions and give you additional resources in a deck that struggles with finding resources. So I think it's going to be an uphill battle. I think this is the deck that Tyler is going to need to take a win with. It's going to be the one that we should have our eyeballs on for this series.
100% agreed. I think you average out his win percentage against the field, it's not looking good for the Even Shaman. But after the bans, looks a little bit better. Let's look at the stats. Even Shaman versus the Secret Hunter. It actually says it's fairly close, about 50%.
Which is about every Even Shaman matchup, it feels. But again, Hagatha is a big tool because it's kind of the Deathstalker Rexar equivalent, not as powerful, but it's kind of necessary some points at later stages of the game in order to, 1, have a tool to AoE the entire board outside of Kalamos. And 2, just to find those resources when your hand starts to run empty, which happens occasionally in the Even Shaman because there's no card draw. It has value generation with Earth and Might.
You don't want to see that if you're KT. Yeah, that Huffer, he really wanted something that could stick onto the board. And by removing the 2, well, it's great to remove the 2/3. If your opponent just takes initiative right back, you're kind of in the same spot. Although I guess he did have Flanking Strike. So in a way, it wasn't the worst thing in the world. He still had a follow-up plan.
Yeah. But not drawing the best. I mean, Venom Strike Traps, Snipe, and Deathstalker Rexar, that's all he has. And Primal Fit Totem's actually a really good pickup here because he can plop an Earth and Might on that and then fight for the board once that sticks, if it sticks, we Fire Elemental and Direwolf Alpha, which synergizes well with the Primal Totem. So
yeah, and then eventually build his way up to that Fire Elemental and Sea Giant in the coming turns.
Yeah, KT needs a big pickup here. Timberwolf is not it.
Yeah, he's got double secret without a Spellstone. He has both of his hero cards, which is not what you want to see. I think you want to layer them. You'd rather have one or the other. The one thing going for him is the confusion of the secrets. Tyler is going to think a lot about how he wants to attack, or if he even wants to attack with his Primal Totem.
Yeah.
I mean, he could just also wait. He can let the 1/1 be summoned and then absorb it afterwards. Snipe keeps his minion alive.
Yeah.
And I think that might be yet another reason why you shouldn't attack here.
Yeah. There's really a small variety of secrets that if you can narrow it down with your attack in that situation. Explosive, definitely not. Freezing, definitely not. So if those are the two cases you get blown out of the game because of it, then you'd be sad.
Yeah. Well, you know, because Tyler is fairly far away from being able to kill KT, I don't know, again, if he values this damage, because if it is Wandering Monster, he might lose his Primal Totem for no reason.
And then beyond that, he could summon a minion that Primal Totem dies and doesn't kill, like in 3/3. Now he's even further behind.
Oh, precisely. Vicious Scalehide, Menacing Nimbus. These are all plays to set up a good Sea Giant for the following turn. Tyler, instead of opting to play like a tall, big minion with the Gen Greymane, chooses instead to go wide. Tundra Rhino plus Timberwolf is very good synergy to help clear off the board.
Yeah, trades off the 1/1 as well. Which doesn't play around Sea Giant too much, because Tyler can still play onto this board.
That's true, yeah.
And play Sea Giant behind it. He can even fit in a totem here.
Yeah.
And then plop the Sea Giant afterwards. Still doesn't know what this secret is, though. The second secret.
Yeah,
he hasn't attacked anything, so it could be a face secret, could be a minion secret. Doesn't know.
Right, we know it's Venom Strike Trap, so he's trying to account for, like, okay, what happens if it ends up being Venom Strike Trap? And, well, the answer is...
Ooh.
Oh. Okay.
So now he doesn't...
I don't think he's even attacked with a minion, so it could have also been Freezing Trap in his mind, but now he's lost that Sea Giant availability. But perhaps he was okay with that because he can play Leyline Manipulator and set up for Kalamos on the following turn. So I think that was his contingency plan.
Yeah. And Kalamos, a lot of options. It's pretty much in this case, though, with both players being full health, summon 1/1s or deal damage to your opponent's minions. But summon 1/1s has synergy with the Sea Giant as well. Also the Direwolf Alpha. Not a bad situation for Tyler.
Yeah, that one attack ends up being fairly annoying to deal with, but, you know, Kalamos, the Primal Lord, could end up helping a lot in this position with his 3 damage Invocation of Air.
But he does have the option to trade off and summon 1/1s.
Oh, okay.
I'm trying to think which one's the best, because in one situation, he trades off. He'll be left with an 8/8.
I think I like that. You trade the
Stoneclaw Totem in.
Yeah.
You attack, and then you attack face for 5 and trade the Direwolf Alpha in, so you're left with a 4/5 and an 8/8 on a clear board.
The other alternative is to just trade in the 5/4, go face, and summon all 1/1.
Yeah, so then you'd have 4 1/1s, a Direwolf Alpha,
Stoneclaw Totem,
and a Stoneclaw Totem.
7 to get 3.
Yeah, that's
I think I like the clearing just a little bit better.
Yeah, that's what he's gonna do. He's actually gonna value trade over value the
I like it.
healthy Direwolf Alpha, or at least the living Direwolf Alpha, over the healthy Leyline Manipulator. So it's a very threatening board.
He needs to squeeze out value, because with Deathstalker Rexar, every single turn, Tyler's going to lose a little bit more ground in terms of the value game. And also because he didn't have elementals, I think the Kalamos needed to come down, because he would lose that elemental trigger the turn before. KT has the Stone Tusk Boar option, so and the Vibrant Skitterer. Wow! If this gets plus attack, okay, that's still good.
Still very good.
All right, well, we have an ability to see some fireworks here.
Jeez. This is actually... I guess it's not that tough. You could go for the weird scenario with Knife Juggler, Serenade, Chain Gang. Hopefully you don't hit either the 1/1s and then play the Sea Giant. No, that's too risky.
I think you just play Serenade, Chain Gang.
Serenade, Chain Gang, Sea Giant's better.
That gives you the ability to totem. Actually, so what you can do is Knife Juggler, then...
So you play the Serenade, Chain Gang, Sea Giant goes down to 4. So you could play Knife Juggler and
but it has to not kill anything in the process. Like if you need to play Knife Juggler, Serenade, Chain Gang, all the juggle misses the 1/1s.
No, you could play Serenade, Chain Gang, then Knife Juggler, then Sea Giant.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah.
I like that play. Yeah, I don't know why for some reason I thought Juggler had to go first. You're correct.
Yeah. And then you don't play Totem at the risk of not being able to play Sea Giant.
Yes, you were correct.
But you can still get the juggle, hit the 1/1. And you have the Knife Juggler on the board protected behind Serenade, Chain Gang.
TJ, you are so intelligent.
Yeah, because he could fit in a Totem up here, but he doesn't want. Wait. Could he have Totem, then Knife Juggler, then Sea Giant?
If it hit the 1/1,
No, Totem, then Knife Juggler, then Sea Giant.
Oh.
Did he miss a free Totem?
He missed a free totem.
Yeah. Maybe he doesn't want a Totem.
That's right. It could make... Does he have Unleash Hounds in his deck?
No, he does not. So I don't know why.
Yeah. Also, it doesn't really matter, but, you know, that Crushing Wall's positioning, TJ.
Oh, jeez.
It's the positioning in case he draws another Direwolf Alpha.
Yeah.
Where's this 1/1 go? He does
to
have
the Knife Juggler, probably.
I mean, he does have Spring Paws in the deck, so
Yeah, imagine the Knife Juggler.
Yeah, the Knife Juggler makes sense because the 7/2 most likely, or the 8/8 will trade over. Wow.
Face is not what I would expect because that can get sniped down, and that 1 damage could end up mattering to that Knife Juggler. Could be the difference of killing it and not killing it.
Precisely.
And 1 damage, bringing your opponent from 30 to 29 is rarely relevant in these types of games. Often you just snowball so far ahead on the board against Even Shaman, especially an Even Shaman without Hagatha, mind you, that you have like 8 overkill at least. I don't know why I said 8. It's a cool round number that popped into my head.
Yeah. Well,
but you get the point.
I think I do. I think I do.
Now it's for Tyler. It's whether or not this 7/2 is worth protecting with the Hex. Because you're going to have a lot of minions to be able to Hex against this deck.
Right.
Pretty much every zombies that's created. So it's a matter of, do I want to preserve the 7/2 now?
Yeah, I mean, you could just Hero Power and gain Greymane instead, get a couple of juggles, extend further into the board.
He could, but yeah, I guess that 7/2 is going to be vulnerable no matter which way you slice it, so...
I think if he gets a chance to get the Healing Totem, then it'd be out of range of, say, another Bloat Bat scenario, unless he had extra change, and then an Explosive Trap.
Yeah. Zul'jin, not many spells, a couple of secrets, and a Animal Companion and Flanking Strike, so really not the best. Wow, picks up Tundra Rhino again.
Yeah, and the Cobra. I think he was holding out for like an opportunity to get Lifesteal or Rush.
Subject 9, Scavenging Hyena, and Cracking Razor Maw.
He is dead. Wow! Whoa! Shaman gets over the hump, but remember we mentioned that the statistics are over small sample sizes of a few hundred games, 50%. So even Shaman able to get there, no need for the Hagatha, just enough pressure. But
clear plus Lifesteal, or just a full clear with some kind of Bloat Bat plus something else.
I want to get behind it because I believe in the underdog story. I think that's at its heart what Hearthstone esports is really about. It's the story of the person watching. That's right, you watching on your couch. Cheeto bag in one hand, Mountain Dew in the other. We're not sponsored by them, so I hope we don't get sued.
Me too.
Yeah.
Generic cheese-flavored corn snacks.
Deliciously flavored.
And generic
snack.
citrus-flavored caffeine
Carbonated beverage. Yeah.
pop. There we go.
Wow.
Nailed it. All right, Dan. Hit me with some numbers. You're the numbers guy.
Okay. Odd Rogue versus Secret Hunter is very bad for the Odd Rogue, and that's largely because Odd Rogue is very dependent on that early game snowball, and what feels like these days is that mid-range Secret Hunter has the ability to play very defensive through the secrets and can turn the corner super fast. They have rush minions, they have spell stones, they have flanking strike, and those are super powerful.
Yeah. Also, with access to Hunter's Mark, which actually KT does not have in the deck. Hunter's Mark is a great tool combined with Candle Shot to really just pick apart Odd Rogue's board. Odd Rogue relies on snowballing powerful early minions like Vicious Fledgling and Henchclan Thug and using the dagger to protect them. So if you can just tear through just a couple of those threats early on, limit the impact of Fungal Mancer and Vile Spine Slayer in that mid game, then you're smooth sailing.
I agree. This also pulls up the question: do I play Henchclan Thug versus Vicious Fledgling? And this is a play that I've seen a lot happen. And I often think, man, I just do not want Flanking Strike to ever come out here.
Yeah, there's a few arguments for everyone, right? The first one is I want to play the most powerful one first, the one that has the most snowball potential first, because my opponent's less likely to have the tool they need to deal with it. I'm more likely to win if I get to attack with it right away.
Yeah, except they're mulliganing for it all the time.
Yeah, and so then the second argument is, well, if they kept a removal, I want to play the least powerful one first to bait out their removal, then follow it up with the more powerful one, so then it sticks. So both sides have reasonable arguments. And you know what, Dan? I'm just not smart enough to determine it for myself.
Well, I think Henchclan Thug is good against both the Flanking Strike and the Kill command options. And also it does still retain snowball value. Just imagine it's a Vicious Fledgling, but it just gains +1/+1 adapt every turn, which is still very strong, especially when you see how often Henchclan Thug hits. And
well,
I think,
but sometimes if you're playing against a matchup with Hunter where on paper you're unfavored, you got to go big.
that
You got to
true.
play
I
Vicious
agree with
Fledgling
that.
first and go for the Wind Fury, go for the Stealth, and the next turn blow them up.
I can definitely get behind that. I think if it's a bad matchup, risks end up becoming a lot more palatable.
Yeah.
Because you can live with the fact, like, okay, look, if I don't take the risk and I play, I'm just going to be naturally unfavored.
Yes.
This Coin Animal Companion could be bad if it's a huffer. And as a result, that is a very good outcome. What a draw!
But Venom Strike Trap is very difficult to deal with.
Yeah, I forgot about the secret.
I still imagine he's going to ship this damage upstairs.
Okay, doesn't feel nearly as bad. It's like, you know what? It's a 2-3 trading into a 5-3. Not that big. You know, it's weird how psychology works, right? It's effectively the same thing.
Yeah, but now Tyler's got a lot of damage lined up and still relatively healthy. And basically at this point, a Leroy Jenkins away from just closing out the game.
Right, and a kill command already had been used.
And actually, if he Tar Creepers plus SI7 agents here, then he's at 4, which is just 2 dagger swings away from winning the game. And KT has to remove his whole board next turn to not just die. Tyler's in business.
I think so.
Or Deadly Poison, South Sea Deckhand, Leroy Jenkins, another SI7 agent.
It's going to be an adapt here. +3 attack, poisonous, it's all good. You can clear the board. You can set up Wandering Monster. You can even set up a Snake Trap.
Yeah, I think he's going to set up a Snake Trap because that's...
Yeah, because you're heavily incentivized as the rogue player to attack the face, therefore you improve your power. And the Snake Trap is a future investment of damage. You miss out the 2 damage right this turn, but you get 3 back on the following. And this double Tar Creeper is a nod to the more aggressive matchups that Odd Rogue might face against, like the Mirror. But
You belong to the
That
bottom.
minion survives. This could be bad for Tyler if he can't get that extra damage.
Yeah, he's going to be down to maybe just one turn to pick up something.
Well,
I can imagine Dire Maul's going to be held on to.
Yeah, he needs to hold that on. And Master's
Oh,
Call
jeez.
gives him the ability to put Tyler on a 2-turn lethal setup. This is really bad for Tyler. He needs to win right now. Next
All
turn.
right. South Sea Deckhand, second SI7 agent. Leroy Jenkins.
He can still stall, I think, if he gets the Vile Spine Slayer.
I don't think so. 9, 12, 13. Oh! What? All right, 19 cards left in the deck. I think he had 4 guaranteed outs. 4 guaranteed outs for lethal. No, 5 guaranteed outs for lethal, plus a virus draw at a chance for lethal. So that was what, a 25 to 30% chance for Tyler to draw game-ending damage. And, you know, sometimes that's all you can do.
TJ, the script.
Oh, sorry, I lost it. Oh, yeah,
No,
here it is.
yeah, Tyler is supposed to win his playoff Swiss rounds and advance to the championship, and just because does tend to get farmed by those slower decks, though. So KT, pretty sad to see the odd road go through. But we go to even Paladin. Now, this is a deck that Sato said he expected to see a rise in play. We'll see if it's able to live up to that hype or expectation. It's not too much hype, I would say. Even Paladin's very rock solid, consistent, fairly middling. But hasn't gotten over the hump.
Reporting for duty.
KT drawing a mean curve. Whoa. Hero power over.
Not on my watch.
He played that turn really fast.
I would have at least thought about it for a second, but this matchup almost entirely comes down to board. Almost entirely. And because of that, KT has now given up an opportunity for his animal companion to stick. Tyler's playing a Corpse Taker. I assume a Corpse Taker. Maybe he's thinking about Flanking Strike all of a sudden.
Yeah. Double
Actually,
is hard to pass.
whoa. No, Choose Over Champion is genius.
Oh, because it forces the flanking strike.
It forces the flanking strike for the threat of Blessing of Kings. And then he kills the flanking strike with the Choose Over Champion, drops a Corpse Taker. Wow.
Yeah, that's really good. There are ways for KT to, of course, play around that, but it's still not that great.
Yeah, it would have been a genius play, but maybe KT's play was next level. By not playing the Spring Paw, he gave Tyler the assumption, the read that he didn't have. What the?
Well, Spring Paw, I think, in his mind, is not necessarily just a minion. It's also a small removal tool. Kind of, oh. Well, that's annoying. Now he has to kill that vicious
This game is just blowing my mind right now.
Yeah, so KT saves this so that he has the ability to use Spring Paw and the flanking strike, and ends up working out beautifully.
It worked out, but he could have had such a better board position if he just played it first. He wouldn't have to rely on having it in order to activate flanking strike, but it ended up working out. And
will end up working out very, very well, and then almost to the point where I'm almost considering if that's just what you should be doing. Like, Spring Paw is great as a reactive tool and a proactive tool, but in this matchup, is it purely used as a reactive tool?
yeah, but what? Yeah, I don't know.
It makes sense.
It could be right, but I'm just for whatever sake saying, what if he had just played that on turn 2, played both Spring Paws, and then he would.
Gosh.
All right, this is insane.
That was disgusting. He just drew a second Spring Paw, Dire Frenzied, and
Even these trades are weird.
like,
No, plays on
Consecration. Yeah.
No, the trades are smart. I'm just in the zone of I want to criticize everything zone.
Ah, yes. Well, I mean, in this position,
KT played that early game so weird, but it worked out so beautifully. I would have played that completely different, and who knows? Maybe I'd be in a much worse spot.
He played it so fast and convincing too. So maybe part of it is that He wants to keep Spring Paw reactively throughout this matchup, which may or may not be correct. We don't have the answer right now.
Yeah.
But the second thing I like is that he just hero powered immediately, so it makes it seem like he doesn't have those early drops.
Yeah.
The speed of which you play often can give your opponent information that can be accurate or misleading as well. So Tyler's like, well, he probably doesn't have anything like Spring Paw.
Yeah. But Tyler does have a significant resource advantage.
Is Sir Noyotron the first hero that BMs the player that's playing it? This is looking bad for Tyler.
I don't know. The hero power is unaffected by snipe. So if you play hero power, still Spiker Shoot, which works well against the deck. He knows the hand is limited to a 1/1 Lynx and whatever the top card was from KT last turn.
Yeah, I take that all back. I thought that Tyler was still at 6 mana this turn.
He played that Fighting Strike before we even saw what it was. And
so yeah. KT's just rushing through his turn.
Yeah.
Granted, they are fairly straightforward.
All right, so Tyler has both of these narrowed down to snipe or minion secrets, which gives him a ton of information, actually. And he's in a position where, honestly, he doesn't really have to attack any minions anytime soon. KT, he knows exactly what that last card is in hand, so he knows that KT's playing off the top. There's always the possibility of Mash's Call that could take one of those 4/4 Lynxes that are in the deck. Honestly, Hidden Wisdom looks... He has one card in hand, but at some point, if he has to get back to the game, he's going to have to play more than 3 cards in a turn.
It does make sense, because if he draws Master's Call, that's the way he comes back. Right?
Yes, and right now, Tyler's so far ahead, I think, that you take the card that guarantees you
to stay ahead.
In case your opponent draws the one card that he needs to come back to the game. So,
not on my watch.
Yeah, I think Tyler is very cautiously extending into the board. Doesn't want to just drop another Spikered Steed. And KT with the Cracking Razor Maw, almost anything he gets is still not going to be that impactful. Plus 3 attack, sure, great, but the 1/1 trades into it.
Yeah, does give him some valuable information. Knows that it's not. Still could have been auto defense matrix because the minion's Divine Shield can't get Divine Shield again. But now has to narrow down even further.
Oh my goodness.
Blessing of Kings picked up.
Yeah, this is going to lock it in. I thought that KT's momentum early on would be able to carry over, but this is why you see how important Master's Call is to the Hunter class. Because this is what mid-range Hunter used to look like prior to Master's Call. It's well, you could curve out, but if you stop them, they would they would hope to draw Hymen or Deathstalker Rexar.
And picks up Master's Call.
Is it too late?
I think Tyler, he's got Spiker Seed and Blessing of Kings, a very wide board. And those aren't the greatest. He was hoping for one of those 4/4 Lynxes that he had shuffled into the deck with Dire Frenzy, which would have given him a little bit more power to fight for the board. But especially with Wild Pyromancer, Tyler has a Consecration that's 3 damage effectively next turn.
That's right. Gets the overtrade. Which secret do you even want to play? I think it has to be an Explosive Trap, and then hope that you draw Deathstalker Rexar. Chooses a Freezing Trap. Is this a bluff?
What could it even be a bluff for? Tyler's just going to attack anyway.
Yeah,
I don't think there's any reason to bluff here because there's just nothing that you're bluffing for. And also, Sunkeeper, bouncing Sunkeeper Terran gives the opportunity to use it again in the future because 8 mana is not out of the realm of possibility to use that card again.
So, right. Unless, yeah, and also because Tyler has a way to hedge. So let's say this is a minion-related secret like Snake Trap. You attack into the minion, then Wild Pyromancer and Consecration should clear everything like Venom Strike.
Well, he just, depending on what the secret is, he already knows what one is. It's a minion attack secret.
Okay.
So he has 12 damage on board. Blessing of Kings is 16, 19 with that. He almost has lethal. His Consecration lethal set up next turn with almost no way around it outside of Deathstalker Rexar or Zul'jin. And even then, if he spends his whole turn doing that, then you're going to win anyway.
Yeah, I like this Blessing of Kings. Put him down to 1. KT. That's the game. KT8298. His Secret Hunter has been beaten 3 times in a row. Tyler dropped the first game to Control Mage, but his anti-aggro strategy has one weakness: the best class in the game.
That's right.
There you go. You don't have to ban Hunter. You can just target it with aggressive strategies, apparently, and Tyler is able to get over the hump. Granted,